All right, there we go. We are live. What's going on, everybody? Back once again with a new video, Conscious Approach. Thank you for joining us as usual. My name is JV Wins, joined by my homeboy Dogon SS for another garden variety social commentary on a week's worth of interesting topics. Before we get started with this week's video, man, like always, I wanted to say if you appreciate the commentary on this channel, if you like what we have to say, or if you don't like what we say, but you want to let us know, man, go ahead and like the button, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, man, share the video, comment wherever you see fit. We certainly appreciate everybody supporting logical content, and this week is no exception to that rule. So, join the community. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. It comes at no cost to you, and you're certainly helping to get our stuff out there to a broader audience because we do like what we got to say. So it would behoove more people to hear what we have to say, I think. So with that out of the way, man, and without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump right into it, man. First topic that we are going to get into is a video that I ran across by a relationship coach. Her name is Asia Elaine. She's real big throughout the social circle, the social media world. She posts a lot of videos on TikTok, Instagram. I think she's on Twitter too. She pretty much has the same. She has the same handle for all of her profiles. I'll go ahead and put that in the description of this video so that you can take a look at it for yourself. But again, her name is Asia Elaine, and she is a dating and relationship coach. And she put a video out recently explaining the 4 red flags that men run into. And when men run into those red flags, they usually opt to go their own way and not sort of explore the idea or the option of getting into a relationship with any woman who exhibits any one or several even of these red flags. So it doesn't really take one. One red flag is usually enough, but there are 4 of these. So you might have 1, 2, 3, and in the most severe of cases, you might have all 4. But she's suggesting that these are the 4 red flags that when men pay attention to, they run for the hills. So we'll listen to what she has to say, and then we'll comment afterwards.
Number 1, non-reciprocal energy. You hear a lot of women in the dating market saying when the right man comes along, you will not have to try. And although it's true that you won't have to try too hard, there's a difference between not trying too hard and not trying at all. You don't have to be thirsty. You don't have to come off desperate, but no man wants to be pursuing a woman that they feel is not giving them the same kind of energy in return. Number 2, unrealistic financial expectations. Somewhere in the modern dating market, we have communicated to women that it is totally acceptable to expect a man to pay for their hair or their nails for a first date, or to even go as far as to ask a man they barely even know to help them with their bills. Feeling entitled to lavish treatment or financial assistance from a man that you barely even know that's still trying to get to know you is an extremely unrealistic expectation. And social media has done a really bad job of making modern women think that that behavior is normal. Let me be clear. There's nothing wrong with wanting a man who's financially solid, but no man wants to feel like they're your walking ATM. Number 3, immaturity and uncontrolled emotions. Immaturity, uncontrolled emotions, acting crazy, all of that has been rebranded recently as being toxic. And there are a lot of social media channels out there that actually glamorize being toxic and encourage women to engage in this kind of behavior. When good men get a sense of that behavior, you lashing out, blocking their number, cursing them out, they either just stop taking you seriously from that point forward, or they don't tolerate it altogether. Because you're coming across to him more so like a child who's throwing a temper tantrum than you are a woman who wants to be taken seriously as an adult. Number 4, probably the most controversial one of all, being too masculine. A lot of women will shy away from being feminine now because of the negative connotation that's associated with that in modern society. Whether you like it or not, the reality is that men like feminine women. Now, this is the part of the story where a lot of women will say, well, it takes the right man to bring out that feminine energy. Although I do think that there are some points of that are true, overall, I don't really agree with that. I think that as a woman, you either embrace your feminine energy and you walk in that, or you just haven't tapped into it. There are so many women in the modern dating market who have hardened themselves to steel because of the negative experiences that they've had with men. Blocking your feminine energy is often a defense mechanism for a lot of women so that they don't get hurt in the future. But don't let the experiences of the past turn you bitter. The reality is, ladies, that there are 2 sides to every coin. If we're going to talk about the bad traits of men, we also have to acknowledge and take accountability for the bad traits we have in ourselves.
All right.
Wow.
So there you go. Non-reciprocal energy, masculinity, unrealistic financial expectations, and uncontrolled emotions. Those were the four red flags. I feel like she's my spirit animal.
Yeah.
I feel like she's all. I feel like she's a spirit animal for most mature grown men who handle their business. I don't think that I am going beyond the pale by saying that. So, what were your initial reactions to Asia Lane's articulation of those four red flags?
Initially, just watching what she had to say and just taking it all in. Yeah, I feel like women have heard this before, so uh, but I also, and they've also heard it from other women. But I feel like every woman who says it is just another army and the soldiers, army, another soldier in the army to help like change this mentality that's been going on with modern women. So I greatly appreciate her efforts. Hopefully there are people that are listening to this, females that are listening to this, but the ones that actually pick up that modern woman logic and carry it out to its fullest potential, they don't want to hear this type of message. They've heard it before. And just because there's some other woman who's saying it now, dating coach or not, they're still going to do what they do because uh, it's just how they see the world. It's how they perceive the world. So I would like to be optimistic and say that women are taking heed to this. Some that are on the fringes, but they were on the fringe. The ones that are actually doing this out here, slam dunking on dudes and carrying out their execution, they're getting too much out of this lifestyle. So they wouldn't bother to change it, I would say. So initially, that's my thoughts on this. I feel like she's 100% right. How about yourself, bro? How do you feel about this?
Yeah, I'm with that. I think she's 100% correct, but there like you, and I think I gathered this from what you just said. There is a cynical part of me that says the people who are in most need to be receptive to this don't care. Like the so like the women out there who are in most need to heed this type of messaging don't care. And like, yeah, I think they've heard this a lot. I think they've heard a lot. There are a lot of counter messages going on the internet, in social media world, in podcast world, with a lot of women and men who are parroting this kind of speech. So you have to, it stands to reason that a lot of women who don't operate like this have heard it, yet they continue to operate this way. So I really don't think they care. That's the cynical part of me, is I kind of think they don't care. But at the same time, those same women who don't care, who operate their lives like this, basically who basically look at relationships from a transactional perspective, those will be the same. And this is the only reason why I say, even though they don't care, they need to learn how to care. And I'm only saying this because of what they say. Those same women will then turn around and talk about how they want to be married, but have thus far been unsuccessful. Or they'll talk about how they want a good relationship or want to find a good guy, but have thus far been unsuccessful. Or they'll talk about how they want to be in a relationship, but guys cheat on them. And so, you know, if you keep running into this same kind of resistance, then at some point you're going to have to undergo a paradigm shift. And I guess optimistically, the more you encounter this kind of counter speech, maybe there's a higher likelihood that that a few of them, not all of them, but maybe a few of them can undergo a paradigm shift. And that's the only reason why there is an optimistic part about this for me, because despite how so many of them kind of, execute dating from a masculine perspective and kind of view it transactionally, they'll be the same ones who turn around and say all the right things, right? They'll say all the stuff that they think they need to say to try and convince themselves that they are somebody whom they actually aren't, which is, oh, I do want the husband, and I do want the family, and I do want this, and I do want that. But, your actions and behavior suggest otherwise. So that's pretty much, why I feel like this is worth talking about, because yeah, there's a lot of them who don't care and who aren't receptive, but they say all the right things. So maybe the fact that they're saying all the right things is coming from some place in the deep recesses of their brain that's telling them, hey, at some point you might want to, switch your paradigm up. For their sake, I just hope that they are still enough in their physical prime and exhibit all the qualities that most men desire, which is like, women who are physically attractive and childless primarily. I hope that they're still in that state of their life when they decide to kind of switch things up, if there is a small percentage of them who do decide, I want to switch things up. But overall, I would agree, cynically speaking, the ones who do need to hear this the most don't care, and they're going to keep doing what they're doing. And the ones who don't need to hear it, it's irrelevant to them anyway, because most of those women are in relationships and doing good already. So what difference does it make, right? The one thing that I did want to touch on, though, is there's one of these red flags in particular that I encountered over and over and over and over again. And I continue to encounter it. And I, for the life of me, can't understand how to crack the Rubik's Cube on this. And that's the first one that she mentioned, which is non-reciprocated energy. Like, if you hang around enough guys who are slaves to vagina, who just don't have any kind of moral code or no kind of principled aspect of their personality or who they are as men, they'll tell you that non-reciprocated energy is just a part of the program. Like, they'll tell you women are supposed to do this. You're supposed to just keep going at them and keep going at them and asserting yourself, essentially whittling them down until they just bend the knee and you're able to sort of conquer them via submission. If you hang around enough guys who are like that, who are just, and I'll use the word, if you hang around enough simpish guys who have that kind of mentality, they'll have you believing that that is the order of operations. And so, like, throughout, doing this whole thing out here in this modern dating world, I have encountered non-reciprocated energy so much that I've lost count. I've lost count of how often I've encountered this. And I've often said, like, I don't understand why women do this. I'm not saying that you need to come to me, and I'm not saying that you need to be the aggressor and just make it easy and lay it all out on a silver platter. All I've ever asked is that I deal with women who are interested and that they reciprocate my energy. But far too often, what I've run into, and what I think a lot of guys run into nowadays, is this game where essentially you're gambling. It's a complete and utter gamble, and you're oftentimes encountering women who can feign interest, and they give you their number or they'll give you some contact information, but in actuality, they have no interest whatsoever. And so when you try to establish any sort of contact or communication and they proceed to not be receptive or not respond, or if they do respond, it's very spotty and it sets a tone of indifference, you're left wondering what's the point of continuing. And so a guy like me, what I've done is I've adopted a rule that at the first sign of apathy or indifference, I'm out the door and I'm walking the other way. And I think that more guys need to incorporate that into their strategy, because I think that far too many guys encounter non-reciprocated energy and think that that's something that's okay and appropriate. They think that it's okay for you as a guy to text a girl and her wait 7 or 8 hours before she texts you back. And then even when she texts you back, it's short. It's a short response, maybe 1 or 2 words, and she's making no effort in any kind of way to keep the conversation going, to try and establish some kind of ongoing dialogue. And and a lot of guys think that that's normal and par for the course. And so what they do is just they keep lowering their dignity, their self-respect. They keep lowering their principles and their standards by continuing to contact these women who don't give a shit about them, who are at the very least indifferent towards the prospect of getting to know you in any kind of way. So what they're getting from that exchange is the affirmation of being able to communicate with you, or rather, they're getting in exchange the affirmation of being able to have you hit them up all day, every day. And then they're not sort of understanding, they're not being required to reciprocate that. So they are receiving a one-way reward in which they get the attention from you, but don't have to reciprocate that. And after about 2-3 weeks or a month of you trying to actually hang out with this girl, you finally realize that it's not going to happen. And so then at that point, when you know there is no hope, you move on to the next potential situation. And I think that it's incumbent upon more guys to understand and realize that at the moment when they are encountering it, realize that there is a high likelihood that this is not going to change, and to just pick yourself up by your bootstraps and just move on and try to meet somebody else. At the very least, a baseline requirement for all men should be reciprocated energy. I'll tell guys, I'll tell a lot of guys out there who don't hear this enough, dude, you're worth more than that. So like, if you are texting a girl and she is not texting you back for hours and the response is short, so it's up to you to do all the legwork to maintain communication because she's making no effort to do it, she's not interested. She's indifferent. She's apathetic towards the situation. So move on. Do not give her that affirmation. If every single day you're the only one who's saying, hey, what's up? Or hey, how you doing? Or hey, how did your day go? If you're the only one establishing any communication at all throughout this exchange, that's apathy and indifference. So move it along. Go somewhere else. When you're encountering these things, understand what it means and understand the importance of maintaining your principles and walking away. Because like Asia Elaine pointed out in that clip, it is indeed a red flag. And that's not to get into the other 3 red flags. I just think that more often than not, non-reciprocated energy is the first red flag that most men run into. And you're doing this thing like women do. Women have incorporated a strategy in which they do certain things mechanically because they feel as though it's protocol. So they'll give you their number or whatever weird new human stuff that women do nowadays, giving you their Instagrams or their Snapchats. I don't get into that. If it's not a phone number, I'm out the door right away. I don't do that weirdo new human stuff. But these days, these women doing weirdo new human stuff like, oh, I'll give you my Snap, or I'll give you my Instagram, or I guess now they probably do, I'll give you my TikTok. Or if there's still enough girls out there who will give out their number, understand that for a large percentage of these women, they do this stuff mechanically. There's no indication whatsoever that there's interest there. And when you proceed to try and actually maintain communication with them, you realize, oh, she's indifferent towards me as a human being or my existence, period. So I just think that when men encounter that, more men, when we encounter that, we have to understand the importance of going the other way. And I've encountered this a lot. Every guy needs to have a baseline requirement of a reciprocation of energy. It does not mean that she needs to take her clothes off the first night. It don't mean that you need to be in her apartment smashing the first night. It don't mean none of that. It don't mean that y'all got to go on a date and be making out the first day or in 2 days. But there at least needs to be a reciprocation of energy. Throughout the course of any week, she needs to be the first one to say, hey, what's up? How you doing? If you're the only one doing that, it means that you're a rotational piece and she is prioritizing communication with other men over you. Yeah. And if you're not the guy who's maintaining priority, find another girl who will prioritize you. But there's just too many guys who don't heed that. And they look at this and they've been brainwashed by this modern dating protocol, weirdo world to believe that non-reciprocated energy is normal and I should just play that game. And I'll be the first one to stand here and tell men everywhere, that's not a game that you got to play. So I appreciate that video and I appreciate what she had to say because I'm 100% in favor of all 4 of those red flags. But personalizing this, because I've experienced one of those in particular more so than the others, that non-reciprocated energy thing, that to me is a big deal and more guys need to pay attention to that.
Yeah, hey, well said, all of that. But I'm pretty sure you didn't, but just yesterday I was watching Boosie on Drink Champs. That was 3 hours. I couldn't do a whole 3 hours of that. But he had said something because he had said something, and then DJ FN, I think that's his name, he had said, oh, it's social media. And then Boosie just took it and then he was just running with it like social media has ruined everything. And it's done ruined marriage. And I had said this before in the previous pods where, those marriages that are still going on to this day, that's been going on for 40 and 50 years. Well, the only reason why those things has been going on for as long as they has is that there was no social media in those days. And if there was a Tinder or Instagram or something like that back in the 60s, right? You know what I'm saying? Grandpa, whoever, would have been liking animes pictures, Mary Jo's pictures, Gertrude's pictures. And so they would have been liking all of those things. He would have seen that, grandma, whoever, Grandma Betsy, there's badder women out there than Grandma Betsy. And then he done left her. Or he's thirsting in the streets, you know what I'm saying, chasing, a woman because she's showing her ankle. And so times have drastically changed. People have way too many options at their disposal. And so just what you just mentioned there for the first red flag, like you said, well, she's not prioritizing you because she probably has her own Rolodex of dudes that she would rather talk to, or she just wants to just keep her fingers busy, and you're just one of the guys that keeps her fingers busy while she just texts. She has her affections for whatever dude, for whatever reason. He's probably a scumbag, because if you actually approach or talk to her in the adequate way, you're too boring, you're too lame, and you need to have a little bit more spice and excitement in this conversation, And so what is she looking for? Low key, the one that's always being one word, being rude. She's looking for rude right back. And if you're being rude right back, you're not being in your normal, traditional, standard frame. You got to step into this weird thought box and then talk to her like a whore. That's the only reason why that's the only way she would respond to you over this guy, because you're being toxic to her. That's the goofy stuff that we've got going on right now. She mentioned that the immaturity one ties into the first one. The immaturity one for the third one, that ties into the last one. Literally, immaturity ties into all of the red flags, because they have these problems that from being exposed to way too much stimuli. And so now they have a convoluted view of what masculinity really is, or what masculinity should really be. Much like men who have a convoluted view of what masculinity really is and what it really should be. Because at least in my generation, I was growing up and I heard that the masculine of masculine men got to be out here slaying every damn thing. And he has to have sex with XYZ type of women in order to be considered, head honcho. And if he's not out here slaying all of these whores, then he ain't worth nothing. So what does Doe do? Yeah, I'm about to say my real name. Y'all probably heard already. What does Doe do? He goes out there and he says, "Well, I must become a whore myself. I must be whore myself. So I go out there and try to achieve whoredom. And when I'm out here talking to these scandalous women, I realize that they want disrespect, not the real ones. Not the real women, the real women that actually want something solid. The ones that are confused, much like me, they want to be disrespected. They don't want to be treated in the traditional type of format. They want to be treated just like a number. And so if I were treating them like a number, like I got other ones on the team and I'm just slaying, she's just one of the many that I'm slaying out. She loves it. It was the most ridiculous thing ever. So if you do say good morning, how are you? That's probably a little too nice for her.
Yeah.
She wants, I don't know what she wants. Hey, bitch. Hey, bitch, good morning. Good morning.
No, you said good morning. You can't. You said good morning. You got to take that part out. It's just hey, bitch.
No, but hey, bitch. And who you calling a bitch? Man, their conversations got rolling now. Now you done got her attention. Yeah. So
or just if you start off the conversation with what you got going on, airing nails, and then you just cash app it, then that's pretty much what the expectation is.
I mean, well, if that's what we're doing, if we're just doing prostitution, right? If we're just doing prostitution, there's cheaper rates. So you don't have to go out there and be paying, women to, what are you doing? You're literally, so you meet women in the streets, and we'll cover this later with that last topic because that last one is outlandish. But I'll stick with this.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, I'll stick with this one here. But what? So I've encountered all flags, of course. If you're a male and you've been on the dating scene, of course you've encountered them all. All right. But of course, I'm at this part of my life and this stage of my life where I've just had enough of it, honestly. And much like how you say, if they're out here not displaying interest because whatever, I'm just one of the many guys that trying to text her or call her or take her somewhere or whatever. If I feel like I'm that guy, well, I don't want to play. The last few situationships type of situations that I was in, I knew I was a rotational piece. Didn't care, I was just like, all right, well, whatever, Then eventually they're like, hey, I want this to be a thing, and I'm like, okay, well, whatever, I'm just rolling with it, and then but eventually you gotta chase the other dudes off, and I said, well, I'm not doing that anymore either. Like, I'm not chasing any dudes off. I'm not going to be, hey, I'm not that I was saying this, but basically saying this, like, hey, I'm the only guy here. So if you want to be, if we're going to be doing all of this stuff, you can't be doing all that extra stuff. At that point, I realized that it's like a street cat. It comes around only when it wants its milk. It comes to your door. You let it in for a few seconds, and it's back out there on the street. And that's not your cat. It has several houses that it does it to. And so I had to realize that once that cat comes to my door, scratching and clawing on my door, it was at my door. It wanted me. No, it wants a lot of stuff. And you're just an experience that it wants to experience. It wants to come in and sniff around. Hey, rub up on your leg for a few seconds, and it's out of there. And, see it in the next few days when it decides to come back. Mm-hmm. And that's what dating has become. Mm-hmm. Everybody out here getting in a situationship after situationship, and that's a new word. They just came up with that. And now I'm just finding myself in these things. Yeah. Where people are just, hey, well, we talking now. Well, what does that mean? We talking. So this is what's going on in the dating arena. She called it out. But I'm telling you right now, I don't know how many women out here are not displaying at least one of these flags, and they call themselves dating. It's really gone on. This is taking on a large percentage of our population out here. Yeah. So it is what it is. If you got the 4-pack, I feel sorry for you, bro. I done had at least 3 of the 4. So hey, don't I done had the 3 of the 4 before. So it is what it is, man. But now I'm at this point in my life where if I decide to play some type of game, I've realized that I'm playing a game. But the wool being pulled over my eyes about this stuff, I think it's a little too much information. I think I'd have been through a little too much to go through this blindly. So fellas and ladies, if y'all find yourselves out here in the dating arena and you're experiencing fatigue, there are good people out there that don't play these games. Just hold firm and hold out, because you don't have to sign up for this stuff. Not everybody's out here doing this. There's a lot of them, but not everybody.
Yeah, I think at a certain point, because we've said often that this represents like the minority of the population, and that there's actually more people who are normal, I guess. But I think at a certain point, we're going to have to really analyze whether that's actually still true. Honestly, like I think as times move along, we're legitimately going to have to assess whether this type of dynamic has truly become the majority. Because based on my experience and what I've seen, it's becoming the majority.
Well, I would say that the extreme cases, the minority. But there's so many people that are fringed out.
Bro. But even fringe. But I just think that fringe is more likely to be on one side or the other. Like if we were talking about a fringe line, and one side of that line is dysfunctionality, and the other side of that line is, non-dysfunctionality. I think the majority of the fringe even is on closer to the line, closer on the side of the line that is dysfunctionality.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it's a generational thing and it's a stimuli thing. Like you said, it's exposure to messages and stimuli. Like I've often said, I try not to blame social media for everything, but facts are facts. So I can't help but express the way I can't help but call it how I see it. And like, one of the things that's really caused women to develop this weird delusions of like this delusional sense of grandeur when it comes to what they're entitled to or what they deserve is because they have the ability to juxtapose what they have to someone who they know directly. So like I think I said a few pods ago, it's one thing for a girl from around the way to follow a celebrity on Instagram and basically there's that imaginary line where you say that would be cool, but that's a celebrity, she's rich and famous, I can understand why that's not my reality. But when you have a girl who you work with or a girl who you grew up with or a girl who who's posting pics and videos on her social of her boyfriend taking her on trips halfway around the world, well, now it becomes a thing that you can personalize because you know this person on a personal level. And so you can extrapolate that to your own reality and say, she's doing it, I should be doing that too. So that's one of the subtle things that social media has done to fundamentally change this thing. But moreover, I'll just say, like, generally speaking, this is why I kind of communicate to men when it comes to this red flag stuff, because I do believe in the trickle down effect. And I think that the more, and again, whether it's realistic at this point because we're too far gone and we're fully entrenched in modern dating relationship dynamic world, that very well could be the case. But if there is some optimism to be had from this, my belief in the trickle down effect stipulates that if more women are exposed to men who maintain their principles, then maybe more women will learn how to maintain more reasonable expectations, or at the very least understand the importance of, doing right by, everybody, men and women, but just doing right by everybody throughout the course of this entire relationship thing. Like if it's a guy who you're not interested in, don't give your number out. Don't do things like that mechanically. Only give your time and energy into guys that you're interested in, because that guy is going to thirst after you for weeks and months because he thinks that you're interested before he finally develops enough gumption to walk his own way. And in the midst of him doing that, he's created a monster. I think the more monsters that we have walking around in these streets, the worse off we are. Right. So all of these red flags are applicable, but some of them can sort of, you can catch it. It's like when you get sick and you catch it's like catching cancer early. Cancer is earlier to treat. I mean, cancer is easier to treat when it's caught very early before it, metastasizes and spreads. And like, it's the same thing with this. Like some people on the fringes, men and women, whatever you want to say, can be brought back to doing things more reasonably if they're caught early enough, or if the interaction is caught early enough. So right away, if you get scores of women realizing I can't get my affirmation from this guy because he can already tell that I'm not interested, maybe I need to switch up how I do things. I think all of that can help. But as it stands right now, there's just, as I've said often, there's just a lot of relationship anarchy. A lot of this stuff is rooted in transactions, and those red flags are just running rampant. And so this is what you're going to get as a result.
I mean, I agree with all of that. And so the dynamics is things that I pay attention to. So I had a lot of homegirls at jobs and stuff, and I'll just be talking to them about whatever, and they'll be telling me, genuinely, like the reports of dudes that they're talking to or whatever. Some guys were and I've heard it all. Some women say, hey, I've given ugly dudes a chance, he still cheated on me. I've given fat people a chance, they still cheated on me. I've given broke people a chance, they still cheated on me. And then once they start going down this laundry list of dudes, of all types of dudes, good guys, air quotes, did me dirty, cheated on me. And so once they have this laundry list of guys of where they just had enough, there's this part, I'm pretty sure, like she had mentioned, as far as the masculine women at least, there's a defense mechanism that kicks into gear where they go, all right, bro, whatever, what do you want? What you after? And so they become what people call jaded. And then they start to defend themselves. If you just trying to extract something from me, well, I'm going to extract something from you kind of mentality. And so, so there's a lot of hurt people out here dating, hurting everybody. I can speak for myself as a dude. If I were fat, if I were broke, if I were ugly, if I were any of these things that these guys were out here cheating and doing all this crazy stuff, I'm pretty sure all of these guys watch pornography. And a lot of these guys that are out here right now are trying to exercise pornographic fantasies. So they don't care if they have themselves a woman at the house or whatever. They're going to go out here and try to do stuff. And so what we do have, at least from the male side of this, is that there's a lot of guys that are out here feeding into this. Like you said, the guys that don't have any morals or integrity, they're out here, blah, blah, blah. Like there's guys out here that are not solid in their ways, out here mucking it up. And they're creating this economy of women that are unsuitable now. Now, I'm not blaming strictly men, but I'm just bringing up the men's aspect, the men's role that they play into this stuff. And there's guys out here that have done women wrong. And there's women out here that have had enough and they go their own way. And what's their own way? Extracting and getting transactional relationships. And so what we have out here is a lot of hurting people. And like how you mentioned, if there's people on the fringe, because I would say that those people who've given people genuine chances and got hurt and starting to do this out of defense are fringe people who are going over onto the wrong side. And so there's a lot of people who are filling this pool because, there's so many people out here that are sexually imbalanced. And people's sexual imbalance has been targeted since they were children. And so when you cut on a TV now and you see what kids are watching now, like this was years ago when my nieces and nephews was watching Disney Channel and all this other stuff. And, these kids got girlfriends and boyfriends and, this and that going on and Disney Channel and, young people, kid stuff, And so these children are exposed to so much now at a young age, coming from all of this stuff that from our generation plus, that they don't know, they don't have a solid standard. I'll tell you this, my niece, 12 years old, and shows me her civics teacher's Instagram page. And I was like, how you get an Instagram page? Well, she put it on her PowerPoint. And so on this woman's the civics teacher, middle school, busting it wide open on a boat with some shimmy sham on, see-through, and you can see her thumb, busting it wide open on a boat. On her Instagram page, she has a link to her OnlyFans. Now, the kids in class, everybody's seen it now. And so my niece tells me, yeah, she was on there on her OnlyFans page moaning. And I'm like, what? After I asked for the link, I then told her, I said, hey, what is going on here? But I said, now we're going to have a real conversation because apparently her and her 17-year-old sister know about OnlyFans. And they was like, well, not everything on OnlyFans is crazy. You can just show your feet. And I'm like, so just show your feet. So y'all know this now. I said, where are y'all getting this from? The kids in school. TikTok. And so these are the new 12-year-olds. Hell, the 10-year-olds probably know this crap by now. Imagine what happens to these kids when they get to grown up and they hit the dating market and they didn't have any parents or anybody else around them that can go, hey, there's a difference. There's a reality, and then there's that crazy stuff. There's going to be people out here that are just doing anything. And so now, when I say that people's their sexual energy is being targeted, that's what I mean. And so this is the new form of it with OnlyFans and all this other stuff, but our generation had its own. And so now all of these people are grown up in the dating market, and it's a cesspool of people who don't know how to really swim. dragging each other down, and everybody's drowning and trying to figure out why, because they're sexually confused, both males and females. And so I could sit here and point the finger just at women, because I'm a man and I dated some of these red flags. But I would say that this is on both sides of the spectrum, mucking up the pool, and it's an ugly game, and nobody's out there winning.
Yeah, I hear that. That has not been my experience. I'll take your word for it. In my experience, I've just run into women who are well adjusted, but they have a particular idea in mind of the kind of guy that they're after.
And what kind of guy is that? And what kind of guy is that, bro?
I don't know. It just wasn't me. That's all I can tell you.
So how well adjusted are they if you're being a balanced man being balanced?
I'm not suggesting that my balance or lack thereof is indicative of their balance or lack thereof. I just consider myself to be what otherwise would be desirable if it wasn't for unrealistic expectations.
And where do they get where are they getting these unrealistic expectations from if they're balanced?
I never said they were. I never said they were balanced. I said they were well adjusted enough.
How are they well adjusted enough?
They're well adjusted enough because they didn't grow up being desensitized by pornography and pornographic images or getting repeatedly cheated on. No, but what I'm saying is using the what you brought up, the examples that you brought up, by well adjusted, I mean they did not grow up being desensitized and having their sexuality warped by excessive imagery, or furthermore being cheated on repeatedly by guys. It's the messaging that has basically told them this is what I like and this is what I'm after. Now, again, I'm not necessarily trying to pinpoint the messaging, but what I am trying to say is I think it is the responsibility of men to detect red flags, in particular non-reciprocated energy, and understand that when you encounter that it is not a worthwhile investment of your time and energy to pursue that situation. Like it's simple. Like I'm not, like, you kind of getting a little deeper into it than I am. And so that's all I'm saying. Like, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you. I'm just looking at it on the surface level. Regardless of whatever their history is or what their circumstances or environments are, regardless of any of that, I've talked to a lot of guys who are like me. Like we all have our vices. It is what it is. But I didn't necessarily come up thinking that it is customary for me to be slaying women one after another all the time. Now, did I date multiple women simultaneously? Sure, I did. But I don't necessarily think I approached it from a toxic standpoint in which I was purposefully trying to have multiple sexual partners at the same time because I felt like that was the way for me to exercise my masculinity, so to speak. So what I'm saying is I encounter a lot of guys who come from a similar walk of life like that. And what they're encountering at the very beginning of trying to meet women is women who, for one reason or another, I'm not trying to speculate what the reason is, but whatever the reason is, one way or another, they're encountering women who are indifferent towards whether they even want to get to know you as a person or not. They're apathetic towards you as a human being. They're showing a level of disinterest. That means she doesn't care about getting to know you. So when you encounter that, when you encounter non-reciprocated energy, your responsibility as a guy is to say, she's not reciprocating my energy. Let me go ahead and dust myself off and go about the business of trying to meet another woman who might reciprocate my energy because she is not going to show indifference. That's all I was saying by that. So, and I'm not like all of it goes hand in hand. But and we can go, I mean, we've gone on pretty long already with this, but just on a surface level, a lot of guys, and I know this because I talk to them a lot, we have these conversations, like a lot of guys are out here just trying to like hang out and have dates and normal conversations and do normal stuff. So they're not coming at it particularly from a toxic perspective, but at the same time, they're meeting women who are just like they're literally one after another. They're meeting women who don't care.
And that's just don't care. And the reason they don't care, and the reason they don't care, and this is what I'm saying, this is my bottom line, is because they're not reciprocating, is because the guys aren't being toxic.
Yeah, but okay, and what I'm saying, and I guess what I am trying to come to is We're right now at this point we're having a chicken or the egg argument. Did the women create the toxicity, or did the toxicity create the women? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know.
Right.
But what I'm saying is we can't solve all the world's problems today. When you encounter that, there are women out there who will reciprocate your energy. When you're spending 2, 3, 4 weeks trying to break down this woman and commandeer her, and she's not reciprocating your energy, you could have been stopped talking to her 3 weeks ago and met somebody else and tried your hand at that situation. But you put 3, 4 weeks into trying to hang out with this girl who don't give a damn about you. So when you encounter that, listen to the voice in your head that says, hey man, she ain't interested in you, bro. Just because she texts you back here or there one day at a time for a couple of sentences, but she's otherwise not trying to maintain the flow of communication, that is a non-reciprocal energy red flag. Move it along and go the other way. Is there a likelihood that you'll run into another woman who's going to do the same thing? Sure. I'm not saying that this is a perfect world, but what you should do is maximize your opportunities for success. The longer you spend doing it with this one, the more time you're losing on the opportunity to not have to encounter that.
I hear you. I was just saying that I was covering all 4 flags. And
right.
So
no, I hear it. Yeah.
You're covering the first one, which is cool. But all 4 of them are rooted in these women that are being shallow, cold, apathetic is the word you use, is that because they are toxic. They are not well adjusted. And the reason why they're being that way towards somebody who's being normal is because they're looking for somebody to be toxic towards them. And you're not doing that. You shouldn't do that. And so that's why you're not getting the attention after 3 weeks or whatever, trying to, whatever. And so my whole thing is that there's a lot of people out there who appear well-adjusted, but they have these things within them where they're seeking this toxicity and they don't know where the seed from that is coming from. Now, I speculated on some of the seeds, but there's many places where they're digesting a lot of this content. So, I mean, I was saying it's more or less, covering all spectrums of all 4 of the red flags. We've got a lot of people out here that got problems. And so, and a lot of people hide their problems and make it seem like as though they don't have none. But once you try to get to know them, you find out that, well, there's something off about you.
No, for sure. All 4 are applicable for sure. Definitely. But what where I'm coming from it is like, what's the first one that you're going to encounter in all likelihood? And what the thing is so interesting too. This is the last thing I'm gonna say. Like I've just run like all of that stuff is true, but you got a lot of women out here who aren't necessarily looking for a man to be toxic towards them, but they just have this profile in their mind of what it is that they're going after. And that profile could literally be anything. Maybe they want you to be a certain race or ethnicity. You got certain women out here, they might not admit it because it's a social faux pas. Maybe they only want to date white guys. Maybe they only want to date Latino guys. You got a lot of women who are like that. You got a lot of women who want to date a guy who's this height, who's this kind of tall, or who makes this kind of money, or whatever the case may be. I'm talking about stuff like that. But what they'll do is they'll give their number out to a black guy or to a short guy or to a guy who's not in shape. They'll do it mechanically. And they're not necessarily looking for a guy to be toxic, but because they've been programmed to do this stuff mechanically, they'll give out that information and they'll feign interest. But on the back end, you're not going to have that energy reciprocated, because when that girl goes home from the bar and wakes up the next day after meeting you and you text her to hang out, she's going to remember, well, I don't really like my guys that short. Or, well, I don't really like my guys if they're not coming from the same race or ethnicity as me. Or I kind of, I heard what he did for a living and I'm not really, I'd rather date a guy who does this or does that. You just never know. It's literally a diaspora and it ranges across the board. And it's not, as a man, it's not for you to try and discover what that reasoning was. All you can do and all that is within your power is to recognize what red flags you're encountering and to be strong and to be principled enough to walk away when you realize that you've encountered them. And I chose to kind of focus on the non-reciprocated energy because 9 times out of 10, it's the first one that you're going to run into. And it's oftentimes the one that we try to fight through the most because we just want to be able to try and get to know this girl because she looks so good or because of whatever the reason is. I don't know. But it's just important to be able to recognize that and walk off. But, that's pretty much it. All of that, I don't disagree with much of what you said, but and again, I'm personalizing. I'm speaking for myself. I've run into plenty of women, and maybe they fool me real good, but I don't necessarily think that they were just like, I look for toxicity in return. I think where I ran up against this and recognized that I was dealing with this resistance is because for whatever reason, physical standards, cultural standards, that was my roadblock. And I think a lot of people run into that too, where for whatever reason you just don't fit the bill for what they're necessarily looking for, which is, it is what it is. We all have our preferences. So when you encounter it, when you encounter the non-reciprocated energy as a result of their lack of interest, just try your hand at something else.
There's more on the last topic. It's very similar. We'll loop it back in. We'll loop it back in.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and cut it off from there. Regardless of the fact, I much appreciation and thanks to Asia Elaine for this content, because clearly there was a lot more meat on this bone than even I thought. And I do concur with her 4 red flags.
Yeah, Asia, I'm well adjusted over here. So
I believe she's married. She's married.
I'm well adjusted, Asia. It's at Doga.
Are you really? I told you she's married and you still said that. What does that really mean then at that point? You're well adjusted.
It's just a joke. It's just a joke.
Man. Yeah. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next topic, man. Appreciate that. And I do believe that those red flags are in existence. So next up, we're going to move on to Ben Simmons and Cameron. A little sports here for a little minute. Before I get started with this commentary in this video, or before we get started, I wanted to remind everybody, if you're watching this video, if you're not a part of the Conscious Approach community, man, subscribe to the channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that like button, comment on the video, share this video if you're liking it on any channels, man. We certainly appreciate you supporting logical content. Now, with that out of the way, Cameron is from our era. He's a hip-hop star who's from our era. He's from Brooklyn. So, it stands to reason that he's a fan of the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets, and this conversation takes on even greater meaning today. Today being November the 1st, because Steve Nash and the Brooklyn Nets parted ways. Steve Nash is no longer the coach for the Nets. Oh, you didn't know that?
I ain't heard that.
Yeah. They parted ways today. They parted ways. Started off the season 1-4. They just looked bad. They won. They beat the Pacers in a game on October 31st, a game in which they were winning by 24 points, and the Pacers came back and were actually winning in the fourth quarter. But Brooklyn ended up, edging them out. They just don't even look good. But Ben Simmons is a part of that. I am not a big Ben Simmons fan. I believe Ben Simmons and Kyrie Irving are the reasons why the Brooklyn Nets have zero chance to win the championship, despite the fact that they do satisfy my number one requirement for championship contenders, which is having a dynamic wing player who can dribble, pass, and shoot and play defense. They're the only team who satisfies that requirement to me, but still have zero chance. And it's because of the toxicity that Kyrie Irving, who I think is one of the worst humans in the world, and Ben Simmons bring to the team. But Ben Simmons does not look good. I don't know if you've been watching. Ben Simmons is out there scoring 0 points in games. He's not even shooting shots. He's fouling out. He has more fouls than points. You can't, and I called this when we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Yeah, you can't have him in the game because he doesn't want to shoot free throws. He's afraid to shoot free throws. So he's not even aggressive offensively because he's afraid to go to the free throw line, which means you basically can't have him out there because you're playing 4-on-5 at that point. So Ben Simmons just hasn't looked good, and it's obvious and it's glaring. Cameron, Brooklyn native, fan of the Brooklyn Nets, had a message for Ben Simmons. So I thought that this was pretty comical. So I figured we play this video from Cameron going at Ben Simmons, and then we'll just talk about this whole Brooklyn Simmons Brooklyn Simmons. What looks like at this point is a Brooklyn Nets debacle.
Right on.
Look, I'm gonna be real brief and short. Pause. Ben Simmons, stop wasting my niggas' time. I'm dead fucking serious. Stop playing with my niggas. You got niggas playing 2-on-5 out there, man. Stop playing with niggas, man. If you don't want to fucking play basketball, go fuck with the Kardashians, the Jenners, whoever the fuck you with. Now, when we watch it on TV, you know, oh, it's all good. I went to the fucking game last night, and I watched you shoot an air ball layup. Stop playing with my niggas. Katie, Kyrie, I know y'all may not approve this much. This ain't on that. This is on me. Stop playing with my niggas. Real talk, babe. If you don't want to play basketball, go do what the fuck you want to do. Stop playing with niggas, man. That shit got me mad. I could suit up and get 2 and 6 fouls. 2.6 fouls. Fuck is you doing?
Shout out to Cam, man. That was a good
I don't like this is 2022. No one needs to say pause anymore.
And they still say that up there, bro. They still be on that.
It's really like if does anybody under the age of 35 say that?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. You're right. Because the only other person I heard say that as much as that, and he only said it once, but it was Dame Dash. He was saying it every other sentence. I said, dang, bro, like, you know what I'm saying? What are you doing, Paul? Paul for what? Now you're making me think about something that wasn't even over there. So pause your pause, bro. How about that?
Right, exactly. Yeah, like, and all he said was, "I'm gonna keep it short." Like, there was no need to even put pause in there. I don't know, man. That's a generational thing right there, more so than anything else. I think.
Not my generation. I ain't claiming that.
But yeah, so Ben Simmons, man. I got a lot of opinions on Ben Simmons that don't have to do with just basketball. Probably won't get to all of them in this video because I feel like we can go on forever with this, just like everything else. But what did you think about what Cameron said, man? Cameron put his name on it, man.
I mean, I listen. I vouched for Ben at the beginning of the season. Our predictions video. Looks like I'm failing on my predictions because the Nets look atrocious. Ben looks like he doesn't care. So I was hoping that wouldn't be the case this year, but he looks like he doesn't care. So that sucks. I really was hoping that, it was just people hating on him and that he would come out on the other side of this thing, but he's giving people more fuel for the fire as the season going on. It's an early part of the season too, but he doesn't seem to care. And so I think at this point, Ben Simmons' value has to be reevaluated at this point because he's no different than somebody that you would bring off the bench, even though he's as talented as he is. If he's going to keep doing all of this stuff, then he's as valuable as your 7th man. And hell, maybe even the 8th if he keeps this up. So, yeah, man, because there's some 6 men in the league that would love to get Ben Simmons money and that's playing harder than him and playing better than him.
Yeah.
And there's some guys that's the 7th man on a team, probably on the Golden State Warriors or something, and they're better than what Ben Simmons is producing. So in some locations, he's the 8th man. And so his contract should reflect that. And so if he's going to keep this charade up, nobody telling him he has to play to the level of his talent, because there's a lot of cats in the league that don't. It's just that Ben is so talented that people expect a lot from him. And if you don't want to play up to that, that's fine. Then get paid like that too.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's my problem with what he's got going on. And for somebody that paid for floor seats, because I'm pretty sure he has some floor seats. And if he was at the game, yeah, bro, you paid a ticket to go see that. And to see him do an air ball layup, that is egregious. 2 points and 6 fouls. Who does that? You know what I'm saying? Besides, I can't think of the dude's name, I can't think of no dude's game from way back in the day that was literally just brought in the game to foul Shaq. You just go get 6 fouls.
George Mirasan or somebody like that.
Just go get 6 fouls.
Yeah, Sean Bradley.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, I can't co-sign this. I was hoping that he would shut some people up, but he's only giving them more fuel. So how do you feel about it, bro?
Yeah, Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is, first of all, like I said, I'm not really with the excessive use of the N-word or saying pause. But other than that, I'm with Cameron on that. So it's always good to see a 2000s era rapper, come out of the woodwork. It's always good to see him pop up, see one of these guys pop up every now and again, because Cameron kind of chilling now. But so I'm with Cameron because you pay your hard-earned money, or you pay the money that you've earned at some point in your life to watch these guys play, and this is what you get. That's not a fair exchange to me. So I can understand Cameron's frustration, and he's probably not a fair weather fan. He's probably somebody who actually really does like the Nets for real. And so he wants to see the franchise do well. And when you look at one guy who you can directly pinpoint as someone who is inhibiting your team from doing that, I can understand lashing out in that kind of emotional way like that. But see, Ben Simmons is a result of the hyper-liberal culture of America and the hyper-liberal media. He is a byproduct of that. So I can't even really blame all of this on Ben. Ultimately, at the end of the day, everyone has to be held to account for the role that they've played in their individual circumstance. So the bottom line is everyone's responsible for their lot in life. And if Ben Simmons is where he is right now, he's most responsible for that right out the gate. I'm an accountability guy, so I believe that ultimately most of this should be levied at the feet of Ben Simmons. But make no mistake about it, the media and this pansy hyper-liberal culture that we've adopted also share some responsibility for what you see here with somebody like Ben Simmons, because he was never made to be held responsible earlier when this aspect of his behavior and his personality was in its infancy stages. When he was playing for Philly, running around out there, making excuses for the fact that he doesn't want to shoot free throws, and everybody was saying, oh, we don't need him to do that, you can just be Ben Simmons and do whatever you want. And Jimmy Butler was calling it out, saying, hey man, this guy needs to work on his game and take this stuff more seriously. What happened? Jimmy Butler got blamed, and everybody said Jimmy Butler was toxic, and they shipped Jimmy Butler out of there. Jimmy Butler ends up on the Heat. But this guy is now become a common denominator with this. And you have the media talking about how much money he makes and how tall he is and how talented he is, but he's literally cancerous to his team, not from a cultural perspective, but literally from a basketball perspective. He tears whatever you can or cannot do. You can immediately just eliminate that with Ben Simmons on your team. And it has nothing to do with, guys like Stephon Marbury were a culture killer. Kyrie Irving is a culture killer. Ben Simmons is not a culture killer. He's literally a basketball killer. It's a different kind of cancer. They're all cancers, but Ben Simmons is of the basketball variety. And when he decided last year that he was literally going to quit playing basketball because he didn't like the fact that people criticized him legitimately for basketball reasons, no one was attacking his character, no one was attacking anything about his person, no one was attacking his personal life, his character, or who he is as a human being. People were just saying, Ben Simmons, why are you number one overall draft pick, 6'10", who can do everything but play offensively, and you're driving baseline in a pivotal playoff game when you can dunk the ball and you're passing it off? Why are you doing stuff like that, Ben Simmons? He was so sensitive that he couldn't take that kind of reasonable criticism. And so what did he do? He cowered away, he ran and hid, and he literally quit for an entire year and still wanted to be paid for that. And what did the media do? They said, oh, he's saying it's mental health. Let's believe him, because no one dare say anything against someone claiming mental health, because that would be too much of a social faux pas. That to me is a form of coddling. And the sports media has adopted this, and it's birthed this monster that you see before you with Ben Simmons. So now he goes to Brooklyn right away, didn't play. Why are you not playing? Is it mental health or your back? Is it your back or so then he gets back surgery so that you can sort of reconcile the narrative that it is his back. But what happened to the mental health? Now he's already missing games because of a sore knee. I'm pretty sure fouling out with 2 points and being scared to shoot free throws has nothing to do with the fact that you all of a sudden have a sore knee. My point is, this guy is he's a common denominator in every adverse circumstance that he's found himself in, and he has not been helped by this hyper liberal media that wants to coddle these guys and not hold them to account for doing ridiculous things like unreasonably load managing themselves and blaming mental health for being too scared to go out there and do your job. So I don't blame Cameron. Again, I felt like he could have, toned down the language in the video. Otherwise, I feel like it's reasonable for every fan who likes that team to react that way because they're trapped. They're trapped with Ben Simmons. They're trapped with Kyrie Irving, and they can't get from up under it. And so I hope you guys are going to enjoy losing the teams that you have no business losing to, and maybe squeezing into the playoffs and then losing in the first round because you got Kevin Durant out there who's miserable even on his happiest day, despite the fact that he's a transcendent player, and 2 cancers in Kyrie and Ben Simmons, one a basketball cancer and the other a culture cancer. So congratulations. But I salute Cameron for the passion because I feel him. If this was going on with the Heat, I'd be doing the same thing. And I can't say I blame him.
Yeah, I mean, I gave Ben a chance. Not everybody has it together mentally. It is mental health reasons. And so everything that you explained was mentality.
But that's not the kind of mental health that he's literally. I understand what you're saying, but what he and what the media will defend him on behalf of is that he's literally dealing with mental health stuff. Like
that's why you're wide open and don't shoot it. That's why you don't dunk it, because you have something wrong with you. There's something wrong with him, and so he's not retarded. Excuse my French. Right? Yeah, he's not suffering from a mental disability. He is suffering from a very large form of depression. And he takes things personally. That is a mental health issue. So now he's suffering mentally. And so,
okay, let me ask you a question real quick, not to cut you off. But I just want to ask you a question, and I want you to respond to this question. Where do you draw the line, if you draw the line at all, between between having your mental health legitimately compromised and being someone who's just a mentally weak individual? Do you draw any kind of line there?
Somebody's mentally weak because they're suffering from mental issues.
Okay.
And so he's mentally weak because he doesn't have confidence. That's something that can be built, and that's a mentality. That's a mental issue. So I don't associate mental health with clinical mental health and clinical stuff. That it's all in the same department to me. So I'm not talking about he's suffering from a disorder.
Right, like you're not saying that he's bipolar or something like that. You're literally saying that his mental health is compromised. Right. I guess for me, I do think that there is a difference between someone who is actually in need of counseling or that kind of stuff, because they do need some help with sort of cultivating and putting their mental health in a more balanced, stable state. And then someone who is otherwise fine, but they're just kind of mentally weak as a result of being coddled. That's kind of what I draw the line at the two. I got you.
And I think that if somebody is not operating, if they don't have anything biochemically wrong with their body or their brain, and they're not performing at their optimum level of mentality wise, then they are suffering from some type of mental health issue,
Okay.
whether
I
it's
see what you're saying.
whether it's self-esteem, whether it's self-confidence. It's something there that's lacking, that needs to be, whatever. Now, if everybody, so when you are in the modern age of social media and stuff like that, where everybody can tear at you and you can just click, open anything, and everybody famous, bums with no avatars, and everybody in between is just ripping you to shreds. And you come from a generation where you internalize all of that stuff. Ben ain't from Mars. So Ben actually believes in this generation and what people have to say about him online and on the news. And he's taking this stuff in. And and so somewhere there's a block, and we're literally watching a man who is struggling. It's like Westbrook. Westbrook is struggling from mental health issues. Now, he didn't sit out a year for it.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I just don't all the way agree with that. Like I don't think I hear you, and it's an interesting way to look at it. So I'm not knocking your thought process. I've actually never thought of it that way. I honestly haven't. I just, I look at somebody like Westbrook, and I think in the basketball sense, he's absolutely broken. But outside of basketball, I don't think he suffers from mental health in life. I think his basketball state of mind is broken for sure. He's a broken basketball player at this point. And so, that Westbrook as a basketball player, that is 100% in his head. And there are some challenges that he's currently going through. But I think Westbrook off the court, there's no issues with his mental health, I don't think.
I don't know. I don't think you play like that on the court and you're okay off of it. And that's
it's a nuanced conversation. But Westbrook off the court is sound. Like, he seems solid. Like, he's got his businesses, he's got his family. He looks great. He looks happy. So, like,
but to me, he's equally as delusional off the court as he is on the court. He's a delusional person, and he's been that way since he played in OKC. Since he had to share the court with KD, he's always been off to me. And so, but he used that offness as a fuel to make him as elite as he was at the years that he was playing at those levels. But there were times where it's just like, bro, you have Kevin Durant and James Harden on the same team, and you're taking the game-winning shot. Pass the ball, you crazy man. He's always been a little off to me. And so for me, I think mental health, if somebody is suffering from depression, you have mental health issues.
I agree with that.
And so I think what Ben is suffering from, he's suffering from a public form of it, because everybody can watch it. He's suffering from a public form of basketball depression. Now, I've never seen this level of it before, but we got some new humans out there playing basketball. and we got some new people out there playing, and they're coming out there with new stuff. Mm-hmm. And so the unraveling of what we're watching with him, to me, is baffling. That's why I was experiencing cognitive dissonance, because I figured that, he would shut up some haters this year if he had any bones in his body. But he appears to be an invertebrate, and he's just literally out there just doing anything and going as the wind blows. Hey, I'll foul out of this game. I don't give a shit. What? Where are you at, bro? I already got my check. I don't care. Damn, bro. That's how you really feel? Apparently so.
It seems that way.
Yeah, you must be sick in the head if you around here doing that. So, but yeah, man, that's how I feel about him. Am I going to sit here and throw a pity party for him? No. I think he needs help. Even if he seeks help, I don't really think at this point, if he's not really going to tap into his full talent potential, I don't think he cares about basketball like that. I think he was just always good at it. And then look where I ended up at. I didn't ask to be 6'10", and I didn't ask to have vision that this guy doesn't have for whatever reason. I just can see that guy open, so I'm giving it to him. And I've seen dudes that were hella talented, more talented than me on the basketball court, and didn't care about basketball as much as I did. So I'm not surprised at this day and age that there was somebody who grew up to be 6'10" and fooled everybody with his talent, and he never really gave a damn about the game. And so yeah, this is an unfortunate situation. Am I giving him a pass for all of this stuff? Nah, man, because I feel like the things that he is suffering from, and I think this is where we agree at, the mental weakness of it. These are things that he could get into the lab, and if he really wanted to dig into himself and fix these things, he could. He has the money to get the resources that he needs for the mental health mental health counselors or whatever. He can get on the right page, but he just seems to not care. So this is the side of it where I don't feel sorry for him, because I feel like he has everything at his disposal in order to fix all of his errors, whether it comes to shooting, his mentality, and everything, all the above. But I still feel as though he is suffering from mental health issues.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, that's an interesting way of look. See, I think where you and I differ is I've always drawn that delineation between general mental weakness and legitimate mental health. But I don't lump all mental health into, oh, this person needs to be put on meds. Like you can be suffering from general sadness and depressive states and just having moods that fluctuate and all of that kind of stuff. And that's legit mental health stuff. So I completely agree with that. But I think there's a difference so there's three forms of it to me. There's general mental weakness. There's that kind of mental health where you're not clinically depressed or you're clinically suffering from something, but you're dealing with challenges psychologically that you're trying to work to overcome. And then there's the legit clinical, like, I need help. I have actual mental diseases, right?
Yeah.
So I've always drawn the distinction between like mental weakness and mental health. And I think it's a nuanced thing. Like, much like sexuality and like stuff like with CTE and all of that, these are new sciences that we're just cracking the surface of. So we, even as human beings, we don't fully understand the depths of all of this. But I question the legitimacy of Ben Simmons' mental health status, simply because, like, I'm willing to entertain the idea that he has basketball mental health challenges that needs to be overcome, but generally speaking, I don't think that he is dealing with mental health issues in life. And by no means do I follow people on the internet or look up people on social media or whatnot, but I do come across a lot of stuff on the internet, and I'm seeing how Ben Simmons lives, and he does not live like the type of person who is dealing with mental health issues. Maybe basketball mental health issues, sure, but I don't know about mental health in general with life. I just think that he's a person who's just not built to overcome challenges when it comes to, like, his profession or his work. He's not built for that. I think Ben Simmons, to me, strikes me as the kind of person who has the intelligence to run a Fortune 500 company, but simply doesn't have the temperament. So he's best to put him in a role of being like a programmer, somebody who you can say, hey, Ben Simmons, do this one thing and excel at that, but don't worry about being the boss or being a leader or doing any of that, because you'll crash and burn in that kind of environment. Like, Ben Simmons is somebody who you put in position to be singularly focused on one thing, and if you try to make him something that he's not, it's gonna fail. That's what he strikes me as, and I just think that he needs to be put in that type of environment, and you'll be amazed how much he can thrive. But I question whether he's actually mentally compromised. But again, your way of interpreting it is a way that I didn't think of, and so I do think that there's some validity to that too.
Right.
But be that as it may, Brooklyn is a shit show. They are a dumpster fire, and I saw this coming a mile away, because Ben Simmons and Kyrie, I just don't know what coach is going to make that work. Phil Jackson at his prime, I don't think could make that work. I just, get those guys out of here. If either one of those guys ended up on my team, I would protest personally. So, and that other guy being Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
But whatever. Good luck to Ben Simmons, man, and shouts out to
Get well
Cameron.
soon, Ben. Get well, bro. Because you must be sick in the head doing all that stuff. Get well, man.
Yeah, bro. 2 points and 6 fouls. Come on, man. And shouts out to Cameron, man. I still listen to that Purple Haze album every now and then.
Yeah, pause. Pause.
Yeah. Okay, so Next we're gonna talk about a clip that we
Lord.
found.
I can't
So-
deal with this one.
Yeah, so this was posted. I gotta put a link to the description of this podcast into the I have to put a link to this podcast rather in the description of this video so that y'all can watch the whole thing. But I ran across this clip, man, here, and this is somewhat related to the first topic that we discussed.
And the second one.
Yeah.
She definitely got some mental health issues.
Yeah, for sure. That's a very good point. But yeah, so in this clip, you can see it all. You can see it all right there. The caption says it all. This wonderful lady right here is explaining in this clip what you do nowadays to get a pretty girl, to get a girl that looks good. If you want a little baddie, this is what you do. As a man, this is what you're supposed to do. So you'll, after hearing what she has to say, you'll see how it relates to well, I guess like you said, both topics, but in particular that first one.
Right.
Go ahead, and I'm pretty sure we'll have plenty to say about this.
Let me put y'all on game. This is how you get a pretty Millie.
I get a pretty bitch.
All right. So if we texting on the first day and I'm like, you like, what you doing? I'm like, nothing about to get my nails done. Just send it the first time. Because now I know you're not stingy, you're gonna do whatever for me. If I say, oh, are you hungry? You know what I'm saying?
That's easy. That ain't number like couple $100. Like,
My nails and my feet together is $350. Period.
Yeah.
So I'm saying send that.
I know yours.
Ask me how much it is. Get my just little stuff. Look, if I'm just meeting you and you know I'm doing this, doing that for myself, I have everything myself, got my own shit. Handle the small shit first. Then I might take it easy on you.
Easy. But you automatically think in your mind like, oh, this nigga a trick. I got one.
No, not all the time. Though.
Okay, not a trick, but okay, I got one of these niggas that I'm gonna milk. Or not even milk.
No, but not. You know what milk, and you know
Milk is the beginning.
But I'm just saying, like nails is 300. Like you said, that's around 300.
Oh my goodness. I lost brain cells listening to that.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know which is worse. The fact that she was saying that that's the little stuff. So like first day that we talking, I'm supposed to drop $350 on you because that's quote the little stuff. Or you know, I felt like Buddy, who was moderating that, I felt like he was a guy who would drop that. So he's one of those dudes that I was talking about in the first clip where he's a part of the problem because he would trick off on a girl like that.
He'll pay a little bit.
He would.
A little bit.
And he was pretty much in agreement that that's pretty much a baseline standard. $350 right out the gate. I ain't got nothing out of this exchange, but you texted me back that you're going to get your hair and nails done. Let me drop this money on you. You know, I guess you can take it in whatever direction you want to go, bro. But the floor is yours.
First of all, I don't know what she's talking about. When she says, especially when she says, take it easy on you, what the hell does she mean? A, what am I paying for? And so if let's say that I go through with this bit and I paid $350 for her to get her nails done, where do we go from there? Oh, I'm hungry now. Where do you want to go? Now I got to spend $100 and something or $200 and something on that, right? What am I doing this for? For vagina? Stuff that's out there for free? Like, I'm genuinely confused. Oh, no, because I'm bad. This is what she said. Oh, because I'm bad. And, you know, you want a bad bitch on your arms. Now, what am I doing? So, an escort. What am I paying for? And how many people are doing this? So this, to me, I was more confused than anything. I really felt like I was in a time warp when I watched it. I said, what did I miss? I felt like I missed something. I feel like I missed like a 5-10 year window where all of this stuff became normal. And I gotta catch up. Because I genuinely do not know what's going on anymore. If someone dares to try me on it, you know, I did trick off once. This is when I was a cab driver. I had a pocket full of money. I used to work at Walmart. Then I became a cab driver before Uber and Lyft. So I was balling. You know what I'm saying? Little college town, country, ain't nobody got no money. I got money. So this girl, she walked by the bench. You know, I'm at work at Walmart, and she walked by the bench. And, you know what I'm saying? I'm feeling myself. Hey, what's going on? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, you know, she said something. I whipped out my water money. I said, hey, go get you a sandwich. It's a Subway down the street. I said, go get you a sandwich. And I gave her the money to get the sandwich. I got a number too. And then I was like, yeah, all right. Because I was trying to see what that lifestyle about. How many years ago was this? About 6 years ago, 7 years ago. So I sat there and I did that. And then that girl, of course, she wanted me to pay for everything else. I had to chip in on rent. I had to, baby need whatever. I said, I'm not doing this stuff. Now, I gave her $6-8 or something like that. Moral of the story is once you start giving money and you want to start at $350 as the baseline, you're never going to stop giving this girl money. So at what point does this become old? Do you even want this woman to be around for that? And these are genuine questions. This woman is not going to be a wife. So what am I paying for if I want to get a baddie? Get a baddie for what? And like I said, if she's out here just selling her vagina and I have to keep, paying for this, there's women out there with cheaper rates that you could just literally pay and have sex with them. So I'm really confused here. What are people paying for? So mine's is more or less confusion, bro. So how about you, bro? What were your initial thoughts on this madness?
Yeah. First thought is, if that's what you're about, there's far cheaper ways to get sex. If what you're suggesting is this is the price to be able to sleep with me, then all guys need to understand there's cheaper rates than $350.
All right.
Yeah, she's saying what you're paying for is her presence. So you brought up a story. I got several. I got two stories in particular.
Mm-hmm.
First story. I was about, now mind you, when I first started encountering all of this was before, it really picked up steam. Instagram came around around 2000. I think the first time that I knew about Instagram was 2013. I think it was around at first like 2011, I think. So when I was 20, let's see, this was after court. So I want to say I was around 28 years old. That would make the year, what's the math on that? That's 8 years ago. That would make it 2018? Is that the right math on that? No, 8 years ago. That's 2014, right?
14, yeah.
14, yeah. So yeah, that's around the time, 2014, something like that. I met this girl, and of course I'm not gonna say her name, but we was talking. Yeah. But our interaction, obviously it developed, it progressed, and it got to the point where we were, sexually active with one another, on a regular basis. We were doing our thing. Yeah, we were doing our thing on a regular basis. And at some point along the way, she started to say weird stuff to me during our conversations. She'd say things like, now mind you, I want to say that by this time I have been smashing for, let's say, a month, right? Let's say a month. So it's been about a month. And after a month, prior to that, everything was relatively normal. There are certain aspects of her personality I didn't like, but hey, not everybody's perfect, so it is what it is. But after that month passed, there were certain aspects of our conversation that started to just become weird. She'd say things like, "Why don't you ever buy me gifts?" And she'd say stuff like, "What do you do for me You don't get me anything. You don't buy me gifts. She brought up the gift thing. She bring up the gift thing a lot. And
Yeah.
she'd bring up stuff like flowers and gifts. And then she'd talk about something else. And then she'd bring up the gift thing again. And so it became apparent to me that she felt as though because I was having sex with her, that it made her entitled to rewards. It's kind of like a dog. Like, you train a dog. And how do most people train dogs? By rewarding a particular behavior with a treat. So if you want a dog to perform a particular command, you suggest that if they perform the command, they get the treat. Or rather, you give the command, and the expectation with the dog is, after I perform this command, I'm going to get the treat, because you program the dog to expect a treat after performing a particular command. So it became apparent to me that she was looking for a treat because she was performing a particular command. In this instance, that command being having sex with me. Now, last time I checked, I never asked her to have sex with me. I didn't mandate it. I didn't command it from her. I didn't hold a foot down on her neck and say, have sex with me or else. This was a consensual mutual exchange.
Right.
I climaxed, she climaxed. I enjoyed it, she enjoyed it. It was a fair exchange. Yet somehow, some way, despite the fact that it was a fair exchange, there was an expectation on her part to receive certain tangible gifts as a result of this exchange. And I was dumbfounded by this. Now, mind you, once again, this is pre OnlyFans, Snapchat, Instagram, and all of that. This is when things were still relatively tame. 2013, 2014, somewhere around there. And I was completely dumbfounded by this. I didn't understand what she meant. Like, my brain literally couldn't compute it. I was trying to understand, what are you asking me to do here? I'm doing this for you. For what? Like, what is it that you did that warrants me doing this for you? We're not a couple. We're not in a relationship. You're not my girlfriend, in part because I don't trust you. Why am I supposed to be doing these things for you? And one time I asked her, because she kept getting, and what was so weird about it is, despite my refusal to bend the knee to her and give her what she wanted, she kept coming around. So why are you here if you're so upset with the fact that I'm not buying you gifts or doing things for you just for the sake of your existence and because you have sex with me? Newsflash, woman, God didn't stop making vaginas when he made yours. So if you think your vagina is worth that price of admission, you can go and find another sucker, because there are other vaginas who aren't going to demand that I literally pay for it, which is what you're suggesting at this point. But she kept coming around because we were involved physically, and there was a benefit that she received from that. And so I would suggest to her, that is what you get from this. Like, what you're getting is the benefit of this physical interaction, which is the same benefit that I get. That's called a fair exchange. It's an even exchange. What ancillary benefits do you think you're supposed to be entitled to? And that was the first time that it became apparent to me that this was actually a thing. The second time that it became apparent to me, there was another girl who I started talking to. We met under similar circumstances. It started out relatively normal. I got what I got out of it. She got what she got out of it. It was a fair exchange. And then she started suggesting that I pay for certain things that I felt I didn't need to pay for. She liked to smoke. She suggested that I pay for the smoke. And I'm not even a smoker. So why would I do this? I'm not even getting a benefit from that because I don't do it. And she would basically suggest that I'm supposed to do certain things. And I would say, well, why do you feel this way? And her response was, well, no. Rather, she would say, hey, I you should be doing this and you should be doing that. And my response to her would be, well, what do I get out of this? Because now you're making this about the exchange of goods and services. So what service do I get from the exchange of these goods? And her response was, my presence.
Yep.
I'm not even making this up. That was her response. She believed that her being around me was something that I should reward by doing things for her tangibly.
Yep.
And I couldn't convince her otherwise. In her mind, she felt like that was an entirely legitimate request.
Yep.
And in both instances, when I encountered that, I kicked him out my place and I never talked to him again. See, the thing is, and this is why it ties into my first conversation, into the first topic that we had. See, I think a lot of guys get far too wrapped up with trying to change the world. Like, stop trying to change these women. Stop wasting time trying to convince these types of women that they don't need to be this way with you. You cannot change a tiger's stripes. Therefore, it is incumbent upon you when you encounter this to be principled enough to kick that shit out of your cipher and move on. And don't let them bully you into believing that if you go somewhere else that you're not man enough or got enough money or you're too lame to deal with a girl like me, because they will engage in this type of psychological warfare in order to belittling you to submitting to their will. And this is the type of woman who will belittle you into submitting to her will. She'll have you thinking that if you don't spend $350 on her within the first day of meeting her, then that means that you're not good enough. You must not be adequate enough. Or you ain't got it like that. You rich, or you don't get no bitches. All the other weirdo stuff that these women say these days. Don't listen to this. It's a shaming tactic that is meant to deflect from their otherwise constant state of pure dysfunction. They are mentally unhinged, chicks like this. They are. And you need to stay as far away from them as possible. I've encountered this several times, and those are just two stories. I got a few more if you want. I can go on, but the thing about it is, don't don't succumb to this brand of psychological warfare. These chicks really do think that they can do this stuff to you, and they even mentioned it in the clip. Buddy was talking about how he brought up the term. Now, I've never heard this term before, but I know what they were saying, talking about milking. And yeah, and so she's saying, well, no, it ain't about that. It's just about this or that. No, it is about that. Now you're gonna try and flip the language so that you can make yourself seem like you're not a psychological combatant, but really that's entirely what this is. You're making it about a transaction, and you're prepared to shame any guy who's not willing to acquiesce to your transactional demands. So, like, it's not about trying to change these types of women. It's not about trying to change the world. And again, men play a role in this. We try to be reasonable on these topics. I'm not trying to make this all about women. I believe that the guy who was moderating that podcast would trick if given the chance, because you just got a lot of dudes out here with no moral or decorum about themselves, and they'll just simp and trick off, and they'll ruin it for the rest of us. But if you're a guy who is about your business, when you encounter this, do not let these women bully you into submission like that. Kick them the hell out of your place. If they're in your apartment, kick them out. If they're in your house, kick them out. If you gave them a ride, kick them out and call an Uber for them. Don't give them nothing, because the more leeway you give them, the more of a monster they become, the more monstrous in their demands that they become. And this is what you're going to get. She is fully convicted in her belief that when you meet her and she tells you she's going to get her nails done, that it's your responsibility to foot the bill on that. And again, it has nothing to do with whether you're broke or not. And see, this is where people get it twisted. See, this type of toxic mentality, they'll listen to people, they'll hear a guy like me, and they'll twist it into, oh, you must be broke. Ma'am, I can assure you, I am the furthest thing from broke. But what you're not going to do is extract me from my resources when you otherwise don't give a shit about me. And so these guys need to learn how to recognize these red flags and go the hell the other way. This is pretty disgusting, but I've encountered it before. It probably won't be the last time that I encounter it. This type of shit is running rampant. And you know what I'm saying? It's crazy, but that was pretty much what I thought about that.
Well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing, and well said, bro. But it's the same thing when you talk to a girl and she wants to be taken out, and gifts and all this other stuff, and it's like, for what? What do you do around here? I had to ask the last one that. I said, what do you do around here? And then I cook for myself. I clean for myself. I do everything.
Mm-hmm.
Even with sex, I'm doing everything there. What do you do? And I have to take you places, and I gotta do all of this extra stuff. I said, hey man, now that whole part of you're getting benefit out of but the answer was presence, my presence. And I go, so? I was like, so, like, what? I'm not paying for that, you know? So I figured, yeah, you enjoy my presence too. Like, we're both chilling. Like, I don't get it. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, there's a lot of that going on. It's a lot of this stuff going on. But this to me is extreme.
It's egregious. It
yeah,
is.
this is the extreme version of it. This is it gone wild. And she speaks with such conviction. She really believes this. And the guy was like, "Oh, that's not but you know what? Couple $100, bro." So a girl says, "Hey, basically, in her thought code, give me a couple $100," and you just cash app her, just off GP. She ain't do nothing for it, in hopes of smashing. Like, what kind of simpery is going on right now,
bro? I have heard firsthand accounts of dudes who don't even have an expectation for smashing. They just send the money. I swear to God, I've heard this.
You're lying.
Like, this is what, no, I'm not. I'm not making this up. No, I'm not. I promise you I'm not making it up. Like, this is what we've got. This is, yeah, no, this is what we've gotten to. Like, dudes will just do it just because. They'll just do it. They'll do it just because. I don't know. And I think that is
I can't go for that.
One of the I think that's one of the ancillary results of the deconstruction of, you know, traditional masculinity is making all of these dudes bitch made, turning a lot of guys into modern day feminine men, where not only will you acquiesce to this, but you'll also acquiesce to it without the expectation for being able to actually get with this girl physically. You'll just do it because in the world you feel as though it's your responsibility that if a girl asks you for money, you just send it to them. Like, I've had firsthand accounts of this, and I slap these dudes in the face every time I hear this. But I've heard it. Like, a girl will just be like, "Can I get this or that money wise?" and they just send it to them. I'm not making it up. I wish that I was making that up. I'm not making that up.
That is so, I don't know what that is. Hell, you know, at least get something out of the exchange. Now, there was an old head at the Walmart that I worked at. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna say his name, but my dog was like, hey, he was paying that rent. Now, you know, rent in Tallahassee ain't expensive. You know?
Yeah.
So he was paying what, $200, $300 a month. And he can slide how he wants to, but old school was old school, man. He wasn't gonna pull nothing off regular. You know what I'm saying? So he had himself a day job, and that Walmart money, he was using that to trick off on the Walmart girls. And so, hey man, to each their own. If it's an old head out there that you're a little too crusty, but you still want to be out here playing, and paying is your way of getting in the game, then you know, hey, I ain't here to hate. Because old boy was living. He was living. He was doing his thing well into his 60s and 70s and sliding how he want to, just because these girls need their rent paid. And so this is the world. And that was, you know, like I said, that was 6-7 years ago, bro. So, you know, it has grown. It has gotten wings with the advent of Cash App, because Cash App wasn't a thing back then. You know, now you just get Cashed App and Venmo and Zelle. You know, we only had PayPal. And back then that took 1 or 2 days to process. Not no more. not when you can just get that cash out and you just drop the money on them. So now these girls out here are Cash App thoughting. Guys out here paying for it. Now I'm hearing guys are paying to not even get it. They just giving money away. Well, why wouldn't a woman be out here seeing who's gonna pay for something? The only thing she got to do is just say, "Hey, good morning. I'm hungry today." Oh, what you trying to eat? I want some Chick-fil-A. You gonna cash at me? Yeah. Well, how much you need? And that nigga did it. Excuse my French. But he just went out because I'm so I don't. Well, what are we doing? So this guy just said $25 off GP. Ain't even gonna smash.
Mm-hmm.
We just gave this girl $25. Oh, $25, bro. You tripping on $25? You broke or something?
Yeah.
Why are you giving a woman that you don't even know, not even interested in you, not helping build you or your empire, $25 just so she can crap out some Chick-fil-A 4 hours later? Boy,
While
you out your mind.
While she is texting other guys in her rotation.
Yeah, boy, you out your mind. I wish you would try to convince me that I'm the simp. You need to, I don't know what's going on right now. Fellas, hey, bro, if you did it, I ain't judging you if you're watching this right now. But if you're watching this, it seems like you're trying to reform. So turn the other page, bro. There's better ways of living than spending money on fictitious women like this who are living in another realm, a realm in which you don't want to live in, bro. I can tell you this. I wouldn't want to spend more than 5 minutes with this woman because just how goofy the clip was giving me the cringes as I was watching the review. I was like, how long is this? Because that minute was too long. I couldn't bear being around. I wish this girl would say me paying $350 for her presence. I would feel like I would have to get paid for hanging around this girl for more than a minute. So for nasty energy like this, boy, I hope y'all not paying for it. And if he is, man, I really think you should rein it in. You know what I'm saying? Here's a wake-up call, fellas. Now, if you guys aren't on that page, because most likely I don't think none of you guys who are listening to the conscious approach would even dare entertain these kind of, because I'm so shocked by this, especially the part where you said dudes is paying and they ain't getting nothing. Well, y'all are another level of simping. Why wouldn't simping graduate though? Why wouldn't simping go to a new height? Everything else is.
It should evolve. Yeah, it's reasonable to assume that it would evolve.
You know what? Simping's going to get another. It's going to grow wings even more. People are going to push, and you know who's going to push the envelope? These girls, and they're going to push the envelope, and simps are going to jump over. They're going to jump over the moon for the next level of simpery. So, hey, brace yourself, bro. Honestly, I want to see how crazy this gets. Because if you thought OnlyFans and paying for Chick-fil-A for a girl you'll never even meet, you know what I'm saying, it isn't bad enough. Hey, it's going to get even crazier than this. So I actually going to pull out my popcorn. I'm not even going to get mad. I'm going to just pull out popcorn and enjoy the rest of this show.
Enjoy the show. Yeah.
I'm going to enjoy the show because these people here are on the fringe anyway. They're already out there. Outliers, not fringe, outliers. And they're just out there just doing their whatever stuff. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to enjoy the show, you know, amongst people who, you know, have some sense about themselves. But for this young lady, I don't know what her Diamond the 3000 body or whatever this girl's name is. She can keep it and she can have this lifestyle. I don't need anything like that remotely close to me, bro. This was absolutely, I was disgusted when you sent me this, bro.
Yeah, I hear that. I apologize for sending it, but it had to be done. I just say, man, like, the only thing with this for me, man, is like, you know, when you encounter this, like, don't get wrapped up in trying to figure out why, like, don't try to solve an unsolvable puzzle. Like,
don't do it.
You're getting caught up trying to understand why women are like this, or trying to understand how you can get into, like, I think far too many guys try to strategize when they run into women like this. What can I do to get her to want to not do that with me? How can I get in there with her? Stop with that. Stop it. And that's part of the problem. And that's what has exacerbated this dynamic to the degree that it has been exacerbated. Like, you need to understand the importance of kicking women like this out of your cipher. Just don't deal with them at all, because all you're doing is rewarding them in ways that they ought not be rewarded. Like, if a baseline standard, you know, if a baseline standard is $350 for hair and nails, what do you think she's going to be extracting from you if she actually agrees to be your girlfriend? Because please believe she might call herself that to you. She might call herself that in relation to you in words, but in practice, she's definitely looking for the opportunity to upgrade the first chance she gets. So she's a girlfriend only from the standpoint that she's a rental. So you're going to rent her for however long you rent her before she sees the opportunity to upgrade. And during the time that you're renting her, as a girlfriend in namesake alone, what do you think she's going to be asking for if you started out giving her $350 for hair and nails? Like, you think it's going to stay at that amount? Like, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to graduate, and I can only imagine what it's going to graduate to. But luckily for me, because I don't live in simp world, I'm not going to have to find out.
Purses,
So,
bags, cars.
Yeah, and the bags and the purses is the next, but it scratches the surface. Cars, all of that kind of stuff, places to live, houses, paying for the rent, who knows? These are the types of things that are going on. And a lot of guys need to wake up and stop, giving in to the dynamic.
Yeah.
So, like I always say, man, putting stuff like this on the channel gives us the opportunity to show people, hey, man, this is the kind of stuff that's actually being verbalized. Like, she said that, and she said it strongly.
She meant it.
Yeah, she was very forthright. Like, there's no way that me expressing this is in any way wrong in any kind. Like, there's no way in any capacity that this is wrong. This is what you're supposed to do. And like, don't try to change it. Just stay away from it. It's like, what you're not gonna like. Are you gonna willingly give yourself herpes? Stay away from herpes. Like, you can't cure it. And stop trying to you're not going to give yourself herpes in order to try and understand how to cure it, because now you have an incurable disease. Just stay away from it. Don't contract it. Get away from it. Seriously. But yeah, man, this is the kind of stuff that's going on. So my apologies for you for sending this to you, but also non-apologies for putting it on the channel, because it's scary, man. It's a mad world and certain things need to be said.
Yeah, nah, a factual bro. Appreciate the appreciate the wake up call today. I didn't need this, but I think one thing that people out there do need to see, though, is not everybody is on some BS, man. There's still some people out there that has some wits about themselves, and everybody hasn't got caught up in whatever mind control these people got caught up in. Because I don't know what planet they live on. Apparently Earth, but I've never seen this type of stuff before. With this kind of, that's why I said I felt like I was in a time warp, bro. Like, I really feel like, what year am I in, and what did I miss? How did we get here? And this is where we're at. I'm not gonna fight it. So, because me fighting
trying to fight it is fighting a losing battle. You don't try to fight it. Yeah,
like I said, so I'm gonna just grab my popcorn and watch how crazy it gets, and I'll be on the sidelines. I will not be on the court with these people. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I'm reminded that there's a Bernie Mac skit. I think it was Kings of Comedy, where he was like, I don't understand and mind you, this was back in 2000. Okay, 2000. And he was like, I don't understand what's going on with women. Like, I bust a nut, you bust a nut. I give you some, you get some. Why I gotta pay your rent or something like that he said. It was a part of the joke. I think it was on Kings of Comedy, or it may have been one of the stand-ups that he did on the Kings of Comedy tour, maybe not the movie itself. But yeah, man, and that was 22 years ago. But fair exchange, you're not getting anything out of me. This is a fair exchange, lady, so you can go somewhere with that.
You're living in the past, bro. You need to break bread.
Yeah,
get her nails done.
Yeah. I might as well just give her access to my Cash App and just let her run roughshod.
Yeah. Give her your card. Give her your credit card.
I'm done. Man. I need a shower. All right, man. That's it. That'll do it for this week's video, man. Appreciate everybody for watching. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. JV Wins, Dogon SS. As usual, every week, right on the dot, delivering that good commentary, man. I hope y'all enjoyed this. If you're watching this video as a part of the stream, I certainly appreciate it. If you're watching this as its own video clip, I also appreciate you watching it. As always, man, like and support the channel. Like this video, subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you can get notification for all new content that gets published to this channel. We also post these videos on the Meta page as well. So if you're there, like the video there, share wherever you're seeing it, comment wherever you see it, and also like that page. We certainly appreciate the support. My name is JV Wins. You can find me on Instagram at JV Wins, JVWINS. You can also follow Conscious Approach on Instagram along at Con Approach, CONAPPROACH. Now, coming soon, I will be creating the RSS feed to get this on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all of that good stuff. So you'll be able to listen to the audio only version, which might be more convenient for folks who like to do the podcast thing traditionally. And we will be putting this on TikTok because it's long form video is most suited for that. Otherwise, you wouldn't catch me dead on TikTok. But be on the lookout for that because it's coming soon. Otherwise, as always, man, I'd like to say we appreciate you supporting logical content, and we will catch you on the next video.
Yes, sir. And the name is Dogon SS. You can find me on Instagrams at Dogon_SS, on YouTube at Dogon SS, and on DraftKings if you're trying to get dominated at Dogon_SS. As I always say on every pod, man, hey, don't be too high, don't be too low. Keep it even kill, keep it calm, keep it chill, and keep it player. Because if he's keeping it player, you won't be tricking off on Thotteroonies like the young lady that we just saw. All right. So guys, just keep it balanced, man. And one more thing, man. It's kind of crazy out here. You know, November 1st, man. Rest in peace to Offset. It's very unfortunate what happened to that young man. But hey, if you guys out there really think Black Lives Matter, you guys will not stand for this self-on-self violence that we so happen to do so often. All right. So let's put it into this goofy stuff, man. Hopefully these celebrities will wake people up, because I guess the people in your neighborhoods aren't good enough. But let's stop the foolishness, guys, and let's just just stay on the same page, man, and keep it calm and keep it chill and keep it lit. All right. But we really appreciate you guys for watching, man, and hitting that like, subscribe, and that bell notification. All right. We will come at you guys next week for more logical content. We appreciate you guys for supporting. All right. So until next time, guys.
Yeah, definitely. Rest in peace to it was Takeoff.
I said Offset, Takeoff.
Yeah, you said Offset. Yeah. But I remember when Nipsey died a few years ago. I put a post out there saying, why aren't we marching for this? Same thing. Same thing, same thing. Tragic stuff, man. I thought about putting that on the channel, but I didn't want to go there.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that can be its own 2-hour video in and of itself. But yeah, I echo everything that you said. Rest in peace, Takeoff, man. Appreciate everybody for watching. Until next time, we are signing off. We'll see you later. Peace.